Hi everyone, welcome to Sunny Day Discussions. I am Sunny Day. So I want to start by going over everything that's going on with Trump because he just won't go away. I don't like covering him, but I think I should. So I'm going to talk about Provo, Utah. In Provo, Utah, a man was shot and killed by FBI agents when they were trying to serve a warrant. The man had allegedly made violent threats against Biden. He posted online that he had heard Biden was coming to Utah, so he was planning to dig out his ghillie suit and was cleaning the dust off of the M24 sniper rifle. This man made multiple posts referencing presidential assassination and also made threatening posts against the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, and the New York Attorney General Letitia James. In Facebook post in September 2022, he wrote, "The time is right for a presidential assassination or two. First Joe, then Kamala." The man was charged under seal with 3 felony counts. He was brought to the attention of the FBI by a tip about threats to Alvin Bragg, where he posted he was waiting in the courthouse parking lot. Where did it go? There it is, sorry. With a suppression weapon and wanting to put a nice hole in his forehead. This man was a true believer of Trump's lies and rhetoric and propaganda. He even said that maybe Utah will become famous as the place where a sniper took out Biden the Marxist, approximately 2 days after Trump called Biden a Marxist. According to the man's neighbors, he was an old man, kind of feeble. He walked with a cane, and no one believed he was a threat. On March 2nd, FBI agents came to talk to him regarding his posts. And he was wearing a Trump hat and an AR-15 style lapel pen, kind of like what the Republicans in Congress were wearing and want to make our national weapon. But he allegedly told the agents that it was just a dream and that if they wanted to talk to him, come back with a warrant. So they did. A few days later, he posted, "To my friends in the Federal Bureau of Idiots, I know you are reading this and you have no idea how close your agents came to violent eradication." So threatening the very agents that came to talk to him about his threatening posts. This man took very seriously Trump's propaganda. He later posted, "Hey, FBI, you still monitoring my social media? Checking so I can have a loaded gun handy in case you drop by again." Well, he did have a loaded gun handy when they dropped by. Neighbors claimed they heard a couple of shots fired first by him, and then a barrage of gunfire as the FBI returned fire. And this man took everything that Trump had to say seriously, but he's not going to be the only one. There are many, many people out there who believe that Trump was the victim and that the election was stolen from him and that we're in this governmental takeover by progressives. And so there's going to be more threats, more violence. I'm not sure if it's going to be organized violence or individual violence, but Trump is openly encouraging it all. And now I want to talk more about Trump and the fact that he is a groomer. Not in the way that the Republicans are trying to spin, LGBTQ+ or the transgender community or drag queens, but he is a groomer. He spent a long time before the actual election in 2020 telling his supporters that the only way he could lose that election is if it was stolen from him. So he was setting the narrative before it happened, convincing and grooming his believers or his supporters into believing that the election was stolen. And he's doing it now. He's grooming his supporters into thinking that the jury in his upcoming trials is going to be corrupt, that the DAs and Jack Smith that are prosecuting him have a political agenda and that it's a vendetta. And he's convincing them of this. So he is literally grooming his supporters into believing in his innocence and his persecution and his victimhood complex that he has. So now there was a former FBI agent, Frank Figliuzzi, I think I'm saying that right, who was the former assistant director for counterintelligence. And he warned that domestic threats in the US now look like international terrorist threats, with more people willing to die for a cause who back Trump. So he's warning that there will be more violence, more assassination attempts. Now, a lot of people are saying that Trump wants to get elected again because he wants to pardon himself. And that's not been tried before. But I can't imagine that even with this extreme right Supreme Court that would fly. Because if a president is able to pardon himself, all a president has to do, and he can commit all sorts of crimes all through his presidency, because we have this unwritten rule of not indicting a sitting president. But anytime a president commits a crime, he could then pardon himself, giving him unmatched powers. And so even with this extremist Supreme Court, I don't think that they would rule that he would be legally allowed to pardon himself. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't put a stop to any further investigations. He would tell the DOJ, okay, we need to stop this because there are far more important things to cover than my criminality. So there is that threat if he does get into office that all of this just goes away. Now, I also question the intelligence of his lawyers, because I think he's gone through all of the competent, intelligent lawyers that he can and is only able to get questionable lawyers to defend him. Because on his new lawyer went on national TV to talk about the January 6th case, and he was talking about how it was a violation of his First Amendment rights. It's free political speech. Very obvious that he hadn't read the indictment at that point. And you would think that a competent defense attorney would have read the indictment before going on national TV to talk about it, because on page 2, it clearly states that Trump had every right to say that the election was stolen from him, that there was election fraud. He could go and have speeches and lie to the American people. That's perfectly within his rights. But they're not prosecuting him for that. When that speech became action in the way of the alternate slate of electors, that's when it became criminal. Not his speech, the action. So then there was also the Trump team's defense that the classified documents were perfectly secure in Mar-a-Lago, that, the bathroom door locked. Yeah, they do from the inside. So unless someone was in there at all times, that door was open. But that's beside my point. They claimed in his defense of having these highly sensitive documents that Mar-a-Lago was perfectly safe. They were perfectly safe there. Well, now his attorneys want to put a skiff into Mar-a-Lago so that he can view these sensitive documents that he has a case brought up against him about. Basically admitting in this desire to have a skiff built that Mar-a-Lago is not secure enough to hold these classified documents. If it was, there would be no problems with him being able to view them at Mar-a-Lago without a skiff. So they're just contradicting themselves, in essence, as each new indictment or allegation comes up, they're negating everything that they used as a defense prior with their new defenses. So okay, so even their defense that Trump just wanted to pause the counting of the electoral votes so that the states could have one final look into their voter fraud allegations. They're claiming that that's not a crime. Well, yeah, yes, it is. It's obstruction. It's obstructing an official proceeding. The fact that he, as Trump claims, asked for a pause, but Pence claims asked him to stop and reject the electoral count is a crime. And so his lawyer's going on TV and saying that everything he did, that the request for a pause was all okay, when law scholars and legal experts have said, no, that is in itself a crime. So his lawyers are admitting on national TV that he committed these crimes. So I'm not so sure about their intelligence. I mean, everyone deserves a fair representation and defense. So hopefully these lawyers get their act together for Trump's sake. I'm not complaining because it's laughable and it's entertaining to watch the downward spiral of the Trump team. So now I want to move on to Ohio. And in Ohio, Republicans tried to pass a fast one on the voters. So last year, Republicans, who hold the majority, decided to pass a bill that would eliminate any August special elections because it was too expensive to run with minimal voter turnout. It's the dog days of summer. It's hot. It's muggy. If you've been in Ohio, it's miserable in August. So they passed that bill that said, we're going to just eliminate that. Well, then this August, they decide, well, never mind. We're going to go ahead and make it okay again so that we can try and sneak in this legislation that says that instead of being able to amend the state's constitution with a simple majority of the vote, they wanted to increase it to 60% of the vote. And this is shortly after a poll came out and said that 58% of voters in Ohio are in support of reproductive rights. So there's that little coincidence there that kind of just gave the deal away. And it's not a coincidence. It's actually why they tried to do this. Well, the voters heard them and they came out and said, no, that's not okay. We're going to put reproductive rights on the ballot in November, and we're going to put them into our Constitution so that you guys can't try this again. So the voters came out and basically told the GOP to go screw themselves. So that plot failed. I'm sure they're not going to give up because for some reason, even though they know that it's wildly unpopular to take away abortion access, they're still fighting for it. I don't know if they think it's a winning thing or if they are just so bought by the evangelical church that they feel like they have to. So there was that. And now I want to talk about how America is a gerontocracy. And a gerontocracy is basically a society, a group that's ruled by old people. And I wanted to talk about this because of the fact that, for one, Biden's old, Trump is old, Mitch McConnell had a health issue while he was giving a press conference. He's fallen multiple times. Dianne Feinstein can't even figure out where she's at any given moment, can't figure out what she's supposed to do because she has, very obviously, in my opinion, dementia. And the woman is 90, and so we have Dianne Feinstein, who is 90, Nancy Pelosi, who is 83, Mitch McConnell, who's in his late 70s, maybe early 80s, I don't know. But the thing is that with this gerontocracy comes a resistance to progress. They're ignoring the will of the voters. I mean, the average age of Americans is 38-ish. The average age of Congress is in the 60s. So the majority of the people are not represented by the majority of Congress. And a lot of that is Nancy Pelosi is actively fighting to keep Dianne Feinstein in her seat, rather than letting her retire and letting Gavin Newsom appoint someone to take her place until the election in 2024. And I think she wants to keep Feinstein there to make sure that Gavin Newsom does not put in a progressive, which he said he was going to do. He was going to put in a Black progressive woman. And Pelosi doesn't like that because of the fact that she is a corporate Democrat. And the new minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, is a corporate Democrat. And Nancy Pelosi wants Dianne Feinstein to stay in her seat so that she can push Adam Schiff, who is also a corporate Democrat, and hope he gets elected. Because she does not want progress in this country. She wants to keep the status quo. And the status quo is corruption, insider trading, being bought by big corporations, and the Democrats are a part of it too. You know, the corporate Democrats take money from big donors. And that's where the gerontocracy wants it to stay. And Republicans, even the younger ones, are kind of corrupt there. There's a lot more corruption on the right than there is on the left. So she just wants to make sure the status quo is maintained. Now let's move on to Hunter Biden. A Trump-appointed federal prosecutor, David Weiss, was appointed special counsel to look into more of the Hunter Biden situation. And Republicans are pissed about that. They've been screaming for months that it was unjust that the DOJ wouldn't allow Weiss to have a special counsel, to appoint a special counsel. It was unjust. It was the DOJ trying to cover for the Bidens. Well, now it's the DOJ trying to cover for the Bidens because they appointed a special counsel. And I think it's because that Weiss is actually honest about what he has found. And if he, as the special counsel, investigates this and finds that there's no criminality linking Joe Biden, they can't control the narrative. And then they become fools for pushing this so long and so hard and finding nothing. And that's what they're afraid of. So they're big mad that this could happen, that they could be made fools of, even though we all already know that Hunter Biden, yeah, is probably a criminal, but there's nothing linking Joe Biden. So, and if there is, great, prosecute Biden. Throw that rule that says you can't indict a sitting president out and prosecute him. Put him in prison if he's found guilty, if there's the evidence. Do it. But if you can't find anything, stop. It's ridiculous. All right, now let's dip into Christianity today. The editor-in-chief, Russell Moore, exposed Christian partisan tribalism over political ideals that are being seen with churchgoers. And he said that his awakening happened, his moment of clarity happened, as the result of multiple pastors coming up to him and telling him the same story. That they would be quoting the Sermon on the Mount. And for those of you who don't know, I had to look into it because I don't remember. I read the Bible 30 years ago. It's basically like the code of ethics for Christianity. It has the 10 Commandments. It talks about forgiveness, all that kind of stuff. Well, he would have people come up, or the pastors said that they had parishioners come up to them and say, where did you get those liberal talking points? And when he would tell them that he was just quoting Jesus, they would be like, well, that doesn't fly anymore. It's weak. So they're putting their political ideologies above Jesus while still claiming that they're Christians and that they follow the Christian doctrines, all that kind of stuff. It's very obvious that they're not actually Christians. And it's also very obvious that if Jesus decided to come back, Christians would be the first ones to persecute him because Jesus was a brown socialist. And that goes against everything that conservative Christians believe. Even though in the Bible it teaches, take care of the poor, feed the hungry, house the houseless. That's what Jesus teaches. And Republican conservative Christians are the first ones to say, nah, no, pull themselves up by them bootstraps. And if they can't, that's on them, but we're not going to waste time and money giving handouts to these people. You've got to work for it. So again, proving that it is not about Christianity. It is about using Christianity as a tool for hatred and bigotry. And now I want to talk about the brawl on the Montgomery, Alabama docks and why it wasn't just a brawl. It wasn't just a fight. It had far more significance. So Montgomery, Alabama is basically known as the birthplace for the civil rights movement. And the civil rights movement is the name given to the battle for racial justice, equal rights for all races. And this dock has a long history that goes back to slavery. But first I want to talk about the actual brawl itself. Damian Pickett was a co-captain of the Harriet II, a riverboat carrying over 200 passengers. And they needed to dock. And there was a pontoon that was in their spot, their designated spot on the docks. And so Damian Pickett went to ask the owners of the pontoon to move it. And when they wouldn't, he decided to try to move it. Well, they attacked him. And before the police could come, it just broke out into this huge ordeal. The police actually did the right thing. 3 men and 1 woman turned themselves in after warrants were issued for their arrests. However, and they were charged with assault. However, the police actually say that they don't think it was racially motivated. But when Pickett asked the people to move the pontoon and he was attacked, they used racial slurs against him. It kind of just shows that, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of racially motivated violence here. So Montgomery is the city that was once the capital of the Confederate States of America. The docks were where the white men attacked him, were where slaves were brought to be sold. They were paraded along the docks into a corral type situation where then they were auctioned off. So that history there has extreme significance. When you think of Montgomery, Alabama, you think of Rosa Parks, who was arrested for not giving her seat up to a white man. You think of Martin Luther King's house being bombed. Martin Luther King Jr., his house being bombed. You think of Bloody Sunday, where in 1965, a group of nonviolent protesters were walking from Selma to Montgomery and were beaten and bloodied by police on horseback. Dogs were sicked on him, that kind of a thing. So Montgomery has a history of a lot of racist activity, slavery, all of that. So the fight on the Montgomery docks were cheered by many. Michael Harriot, a historian and author of Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America, said that when people saw the Black people, first of all, come to the defense of someone who is endangered and who happened to be Black, and we saw the police respond by appropriately subduing the suspects. That's a rare thing to see. If you are on social media and you see a million videos of police brutally attacking Black people, you see a million videos of people calling the police on a Black man walking through a white neighborhood. It is rare to see such an explicit example of justice being meted out. As a result, that caused a little bit of joy. So the fact that this is such a racially violent place because of white supremacy, that is where the significance of this brawl lies, in the fact that white men attacked a Black man, but Black men and people stood up for justice. And that is why that attack in Montgomery on the docks was so significant, and why it's being celebrated and cheered on by many, many people. So that's the end of what I have for you today. I hope you liked it. Like, share, subscribe. I try to post a video once or twice a week. I want to try to make it more, but of course it's getting close to garden harvest season, canning, freezing, all of that kind of stuff. So time will be a little short, but after school starts and there's more of a routine and things calm down, hopefully I'll be able to get more than 1 or 2 videos a week posted for you. But in the meantime, I'm doing my best to get those videos out here for you to watch. I hope you enjoy them. Like, share, subscribe, vote. No matter how big, how small, how inconsequential, your vote matters. And read everything you can get your hands on. It's our best defense against the right. So I thank you, and I thank all of my new subscribers, and you guys mean the world to me. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you next time.